There's so many variables when it comes to good performance inside of Premiere Pro that it's hard to say what you should do to get the most performance out of the application. It really depends on the media that you're using and the types of drives that you're using, but there are some base level things that you can take a look at to ensure that you're going to get at least a decent level of performance out of the application. The first thing is to take a look at your system's specifications. Now, I'm on a Mac, so you can do that by coming up to the Apple menu and choosing About This Mac. Here, you can see that I have a 3.1 GHz Intel Core i7 processor. You can have multiple processors, and oftentimes, processors will have multiple cores. You'll also notice that I have 16 gigabytes of memory. Really, the name of the game when it comes to Premiere is having as much memory as possible. Now, Premiere can really utilize up to 192 gigabytes of RAM. Now, if you have 192 gigabytes of RAM, that means you've spent a fortune on your system, so that's probably not realistic. If you can get somewhere around 16 gigabytes, that's definitely a place where you want to be. But the more memory that you can throw at Premiere, the more memory it will use and ultimately give you better performance. So processor speed is one factor. The amount of RAM that you have is another factor. The other factor in terms of hardware would be your graphics card. Again, the more RAM you have here, the better. And if you're working with a desktop computer, oftentimes you can swap out your graphics cards for better graphics cards, and some laptops even support that. Now, I'm working with an iMac. The graphics card that comes with the iMac, at least as of this recording, is fairly sufficient. But again, there's so many variables. It depends upon what kind of footage that you're using, and even your hard drive speeds can play a role. Because I'm working off of this iMac, it has a solid state drive, which ultimately gives you pretty good performance when compared to traditional hard drives. But there's other hard drive systems that you could be using, like RAID systems, that will also increase the performance of Premiere. But ultimately, if you're trying to get the best performance, remember, the amount of memory that you have, the amount of processing speed that you have, and the performance speed of your graphics card and hard drives will ultimately play a role in how responsive Premiere Pro is.